saw last night. So if you recall, we watched this brilliant Haley Stevens video that I'm going to play again. They're only 38 seconds long. It's one of my favorite Haley Stevens videos of all time. It turns out, let's just watch this and then we'll get to it.
Okay, over here we have the Ambassador Bridge. Trucks, freight moving back and forth from the Motor City to Canada, moving our economy forward. This bridge is open. It's owned by Donald Trump's biggest donor, Matty Maroon.
This bridge is open. It's owned by Donald Trump's biggest donor, Matty Maroon. I love her, okay? What gives?
They're collecting tolls with every passing. But wait a minute, look over here. The Michigan-made, Canada-paid Gordie Howe Bridge. Not open. Why? Because Donald Trump will sell out our country to the highest bidder. Michiganders, when I'm your senator, this corruption will stop. And see, Abdul, it's more than 2 sentences.
Yeah. So she ends it with, see, Abdul, it's more than 2 sentences. Well, it turns out this video that just got uploaded 22 hours ago is almost identical to Abdul's video from February 23rd. Now, it turns out everyone has shown these 2 bridges, right? It's kind of crazy. Everyone that's running for office in Michigan, including the Republican Mike Rogers, has their own version of this video. And it's beautiful to watch. You can watch Mallory McMorrow's version, you can watch Abdul El-Sayed's version, and you can watch Mike Rogers' version to develop a better understanding of how they message around these issues or what their ideology is. Now, it's a fucking big deal. It's billions of dollars that we're talking about, right? A lot of commerce, okay? Moving the Motor City. Yeah, for Michiganders, it's a big fucking deal. Oh, she would never say fucking. Okay? But I find it really funny that she even brings up Abdul at the end of her speech, and yet Abdul made this exact same video almost a year ago.
Around, children, for the tale of 2 bridges, a sordid tale of collusion, of corruption. The first bridge, the Gordie Howe Bridge. The second, the Ambassador Bridge, the largest privately owned bridge in America, owned by the Maroon family, known for their slimy business practices and tactics. As the opening of the Gordie Howe Bridge came to pass, the Maroons realized that they could not let this happen. Should this other bridge, another opportunity, open, it would mean that the Maroons would go from making billions and billions of dollars to making just billions of dollars. And of course, they could not let that happen. So what did they do? They called their benefactor, one Donald Trump, a would-be king, holding office in a White House with now a very large ballroom, apparently. So what did the wannabe King Trump do? He did what any wannabe king would do. He used his power to complete the circle of corruption, to protect his benefactors and their billions of billions. He stopped the Gordie Howe Bridge from opening. So what is the lesson to be learned from this, children? That we need to get money out of politics, put money back in your pocket, and pass Medicare for all.
Okay, over here we have the Ambassador Bridge. Trucks, freight moving back and forth from the Motor City to Canada, moving our economy forward.
Incoming.
This bridge is open. It's owned by Donald Trump's
No, I didn't see Julian Casablanca's Oxford Union speech. Why would I have watched that?
biggest donor, Matty Maroon.
No, I'm too busy watching. Look, chatter, who keeps asking me, have you seen Julian Casablanca's Oxford Union speech? Do you want to know why I'm not watching that? Because I'm too busy. When I go offline, when I end the broadcast, a lot of you think like I'm reading books or whatever, or maybe, reading articles, trying to develop like a better understanding of things I'm going to be talking about. No, it's none of those things. I'm watching Haley Stevens videos on repeat. Okay? Yeah. I'm watching Haley Stevens on repeat say, biggest donor, Matty Maroon, Trump's biggest donor. I love that. I love her. I really do. I mean, she's such a freak about Israel, obviously, but it's becoming a new stem for me, new vocal stem for me.
They're collecting tolls with every passing. But wait a minute, look over here. The Michigan-made, Canada-paid Gordie Howe Bridge.
So yeah, I mean, she stole his flow. It'd be harmless conversion evolution if she hadn't signed off the video acting like this was proof she's super smart and has original thoughts all the time. Yeah, it's really funny.
Gives. What gives?
That's my favorite. What gives?
What gives?
What gives? So who has the McMorrow one though? Because apparently Mallory McMorrow made the exact same video, and so did Mike Rogers.
The Gordie Howe Bridge is finished, but Donald Trump won't open it because the billionaire family that owns the other bridge gave him $1 million. I'm Mallory McMorrow, and I've got one message for the president. Open this damn bridge. And you better believe I approve this message.
I'll say it, doing his best Zoran impression, McMorrow. I've got one message for you, Donald Trump. See, Abdul, I can string 2 sentences together. Yeah, I mean, as far as concise messaging goes, McMorrow's is probably the most concise. Haley Stevens is a lot more real sounding and still much more concise than Abdul El-Sayed's. Abdul El-Sayed is very clearly not trying to Syed is very clearly not trying to read like a script or anything. He's just, freestyling. But let's take a look at my GOAT on the other side. Michael Rogers. Okay, because it's clear-cut corruption, right? Matty McMorrow. Or Matty, what was his name? Not McMorrow. Fuck. God damn it. What's his name? Matty Maroon. Trump's biggest donor. All right. Trump's biggest donor, Matty Maroon, has obviously demanded demanded the Trump administration to stop the opening of this bridge that will obviously compete with their private bridge. So it's clear cut quid pro quo. Republican billionaires that are campaign mega donors, Donald Trump, just disrupting Michiganders from making more money, disrupting Michiganders from engaging in commerce. It's totally, it's unbelievable. It's totally unacceptable. Everyone's made that same message be known. Now let's hear how the Republican is covering it.
Today at the Gordie Howe Bridge. Gordie was known as one of the toughest guys in hockey, and we need to be as tough at stopping Chinese cars coming over that bridge as Gordie Howe was on the ice. Over the last 8 years, with 2 Democrat senators in Washington, we've lost over 40,000 manufacturing jobs in Michigan. That has to stop. Send me to Washington. I'll get this bridge open. I'll protect our auto jobs. And guess what, Michigan? We're going to have a growing Michigan manufacturing. Let's get to work.
Interesting. Interesting. He doesn't mention why the bridge is not open yet. That shit might work on voters, sadly. Yeah, he's like, I'm going to stop Chinese cars from coming over this bridge. Okay. Strange, but fine. Okay. I mean, that will, trade protectionism is certainly something that works, especially in Michigan. It's one of the few places that has a robust industrial base that remains in America. The automobile manufacturers. The problem for our boy Mike Rogers here is, of course, the UAW has endorsed Abdul El-Sayed. So good luck to him trying to make this argument. even amongst the rank and filers, especially when Abdul Sayed also has the aesthetics down pat, which many rank and filers that could find themselves in the throes of reactionary sentiment would potentially would potentially vote for someone like Abdul on the aesthetic grounds. Shannon Watts is posting her W's. Yeah, I saw that. She's highlighting Hen Mazik, an Israel propagandist, by the way. Hen Mazik. Hassan Piker says in a Just World, Kamala Harris would serve prison time over Israel. Hassan Piker says in a Just World, Kamala Harris would turn herself into The Hague and serve prison time. I'm going to reply to Shannon once again. Shannon, you're once again proving your pro-Israel, proving yourself to be a Hasbara agent by posting Hen Mazik videos. Not sure why you're still mad I called out your clear bias on the issue of... She probably has half this chat blocked. I know. I love how unironically you agree with a Republican on Chinese cars. A Republican? You know that Republican is lying about trade protectionism, right? Republicans don't engage in trade protectionism. Donald Trump is the first Republican that has actually done any trade protectionism. Trade protectionism, especially as it pertains to American industry like the car manufacturing industry, has been a long-standing Democratic Party position. My argument on cars and the UAW has always revolved around the fact that we should be more competitive around the world, and we should try to outcompete China by being just like China. And we should make cars that are smaller in general. We should make cars that are more cost effective. What do you mean, right? Did you just hear a Republican fake? Did a Republican just fake you out? Do you think Republicans are the party of trade protectionism? Are you fucking stupid? What the hell's going on? Hello? Is your brain busted? Is this new for you? Is politics just like a new phenomena for you? American protectionism is inherently reactionary, and China never engaged in trade protectionism. Yes, Chinese international commerce is unironically hyper-capitalist. What the fuck are we talking about? What? The international trade design that we currently have is one that America wrote that literally did actually suck the jobs, the industrial base out of this country and sent it to China. Okay? When did Dengism imply trade protectionism? Dog, I'm an American citizen. What are we talking about? The whole point of this is, do you consider trade protectionism to be an actual right-wing position? It's not. Free trade is a right-wing position. Free trade is the fake dog whistle that American capitalists have deployed in an effort to justify it. Sometimes liberals, neoliberals have also went along with this free trade scheme. I don't care about Dengism from the perspective of developing a robust or protecting what remains of the American industrial base. You know? In any case, this is 100% a sock account we banned for being insufferable. I know. It's just funny that he tried to make it seem like Mike Rogers sincerely is an advocate. What is this? This person owes you $500? No, this person owes Matt Sheehan $500. The case for Hassan Piker is a Democratic asset assumes he is interested in political power, is willing to help Democrats. Neither are true. He's made no effort to build a movement, fight for a cause, mobilize his base. Nothing. Politics is to Hassan as $1 million is to Mr. Beast. Content. Says the vice chair of a useless center-left think tank that literally achieved nothing and will never be as popular. Keep tweeting about Hassan because that's the only way you gain a following. I will bet $500 that we have knocked more doors than all efforts coordinated by Hassan. Huh. Interesting. Has anyone checked in on Progress Libs and CN liberalism? Because, you know, they've been real quiet since this election cycle started. Literally, not one of these people are Democrats. Let me figure out. It's all the tanky left. What is this? Name one thing Hassan has done other than bringing someone on stream. He's Rachel Maddow for people who don't go outside. I think, explain how she's wrong. I think these guys, basically engage in a, if I don't see it, then it's not real mentality. Not dissimilar to how Republicans behave, you know, no object permanence whatsoever. And I guess that's what it is, where they just try to maintain this grip on the false narrative that they have created, where they're like, he actually doesn't go outside, and if you don't look into it, just trust me, just take my word for it. He's never gone outside. This was their cope when Claire won in New York. Has helped win. If Hassan helped her win, then I was a Biden's 2020 campaign manager. Be real, he did nothing but stream with her, no different from a Fox News interview. Extremely annoying that this terminally online loser gets credit for helping campaigns when there are dozens of terminally online losers. Meant endearingly, I'm one of them, who's done more than he has in his entire life to get progressives elected. So they do actually see me outside. And yet here she's saying, name one thing Hassan has other done than bring someone on stream. Huh. So for a lot of these guys, I mean, there's probably no better way to prove it, but for a lot of these guys, it's not about the truth at all. It's about maintaining a narrative. And for many of them, some of them have an ideological predisposition. This person is supposed to be like a neoliberal. They're tasked with promoting neoliberalism, which is hilarious. I feel like that's a dead cause, not dissimilar to, you know, Jonathan Greenblatt's initiatives of combating anti-Semitism. You know, just it's not going to work. Okay, you're fucking it up. You're making it far worse for yourself and the cause that you ostensibly promote. Right. At a certain point, though, their dwindling followers have to realize that they're being led astray. They're being led down this weird pipeline where they're just consistently wrong. Yes, this woman also joked about Pete Hegseth, like demanded Pete Hegseth murder one of the Cuban flotilla individuals, demanded that Pete Hegseth blow up their boat. So, you know. But yeah, they got nothing. So the only thing that they can point to, the only thing they can do is just like deny reality. Yeah, it's irrelevant. It's not enough. It's just funny because, like, obviously the campaigns and the politicians don't feel that way. Ironically enough, the campaigns of the politicians feel very differently, but they don't have to hear from them ever. They can, their job here is to just like maintain a narrative, maintain a certain narrative in their audience, a narrative that protects their ego, a narrative that protects their position. As long as this is not dissimilar to what Asmongold does, it's not dissimilar to what MAGA does. I think for a lot of people, they've basically realized that they can get away with just like consistently lying about things that are unfolding all around them, as long as their audience is not invested in any way, shape, or form in maintaining consensus reality. And unfortunately for many of us, a lot of people don't have that investment. Most people do not want consensus reality. They want their biases to be reaffirmed. And that's precisely the reason why, it's genuinely reflecting pool politics. Yeah, everything is turned into the reflective pool. If you're a Republican, you look at the pool and you say, you know what? That's actually American flag blue, right? You look at the reflecting pool and you say, it's American flag blue. Or if it's green and covered in algae, it must be because the Democrats, the Democrat Party did that. They terrorized the pool. They should all go to prison, right? There's no investment in consensus reality on that side. It's a cult, and we call it out. But there are many different cults taking shape all around the internet, right? This is one of them. There are a lot of people that do this exact same thing. They look at a situation and they try to find a way to maintain their posture, maintain their narrative, reassert the idea that this guy's actually silly. He's silly. He's ineffective. It doesn't matter. Yeah. If any of these, God forbid, if any of these campaigns had lost, of course, they would immediately say, oh, they lost because they align with you. They lost because they align with you. But when they win, you played no role in it. You haven't done anything. All you do is just go out there and interview people. And that's what it is. It's kind of sad because I expect liberals to be a little bit better read than Republicans and to not behave in the same cult-like manner. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Yeah, you literally 4x canvasser turnout after you went to Colorado for Quiroz. Yeah, it's not even that. I mean, that's what the canvas leads were saying as well. I cannot get over the fact that they do this shit for a sex pest whose goal in life is to film himself consensually or not sucking and fucking anyone who will have him regardless of age. I know. I mean, that's one element of it. And I wish these people well. I hope they get out of this like weird cult. I don't think they ever will. What the fuck is this? Stop. I don't think they ever will. I genuinely, I feel like they're just, this is their sense of belonging. It's like firmly established, so they have no commitment to the truth whatsoever. Sam Piker's right about this. Both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris deserve to be in prison and or at The Hague for financing, arming, and enabling every way Israel's destruction of Gaza. Complicity in genocide is the ultimate crime against humanity. It's so crazy. Like, I know this is one of those. Here's the problem. The problem with this statement is it's true. It's objectively true. Okay? But it's also a hard pill for Americans to swallow, especially a lot of liberals who obviously have some affinity towards the Democratic Party, the brand, and also specifically Kamala Harris. I said in a just world, that is what would happen. I didn't say we live in a just world. Okay? We don't. We don't live in a just world. You can argue against that. You can argue against why it's actually unjust to potentially criminally prosecute the vice president and the president for aiding and abetting a foreign nation and its genocide against the population. You can maybe try and say it's actually unjust to prosecute these people. That's quite a difficult argument, I think, to advance. So for the most part, people will instead go, look at how silly this is. You should be in prison, actually. That's what Hen Mazik, Israeli propagandist, said, right? Hassan Piker says that in a just world, Kamala Harris was served prison time over Israel. Interesting statement from a man who was atoned for nothing. Said America deserved 9/11. Called ultra-Orthodox Jews inbred on stream. Said it doesn't matter if rape happened on October 7th. Said Hamas 1,000 times better than Israel and stands by it. Said a Houthi terrorist he featured on stream is Anne Frank. Oh, of course, absolutely. Banned from the UK as not conducive to the public good. He wants Kamala Harris in prison. Who does Hassan atone to? He built the standard. Let him be measured by it. It's like, dog, none of those are crimes. Aiding and abetting in genocide and war crimes, even aiding and abetting in war crimes is a crime, right? Even if you're not like going to agree that Israel has conducted a genocide, even though it fucking clearly has, Israel certainly has a litany of war crimes under its belt, okay? Atone for statements. Like, I'm not saying Kamala Harris or Joe Biden would potentially deserve at least criminal scrutiny at The Hague over their statements. These are people in positions of power. The criminality comes from not what they have said, it comes from what they have done, what they have overseen, what they've signed off on. Okay? Anyway, aren't you aiding and abetting by paying taxes to the American government? There's a moral culpability associated with this, for sure. And it's one that I actually take very seriously, which is why I try to do my very best to put an end to it. It's a moral culpability that we all have. It's true. Okay? It's not, you're not wrong. I know you're bringing that point up as like a silly gotcha, as though I do not acknowledge this, right? But if you're making the comparison between an American taxpayer and the American president that's directing or at least signing off on how those tax dollars go and contribute to genocide, you're a fucking moron, okay? I don't know how else to explain this to you. Like, there's varying degrees of moral culpability, especially if you're the average American taxpayer. You don't get to have a say, unfortunately, in how your tax dollars are spent. That's kind of the problem with this current fake democratic process that we have, and that's what we seek to change. But if you are the leader in this undemocratic process, I haven't paid my taxes from last year because of the struggle. Okay, buddy, you're going to go to fucking prison then. You know what I mean? You're being ridiculous. I mean, good luck. Man, that first sentence doesn't really prepare you for the rest of the post. Israel is the Rhodesia of our time. They have created a paradise at the threshold of barbarians. The communists in the West cannot tolerate this. Oh my God. He said Israel is the Rhodesia of our time, and then it was a pro-Israel statement and a pro-Rhodesia statement. Oh my God. Unbelievable. Well, good thing for us, and maybe hopefully for the Palestinians, Rhodesia no longer exists. So they stew with rage and hatred at everything excellent. They are doing everything in their power to turn Israel into the next Zimbabwe. Oh, you mean a fucking free nation? A free nation that's sovereign? As opposed to a fucking white ethno state? Yeah. In any case, for all my haters out there, we did the Abdul thing. Speaking of Abdul, even the Detroit Free Press defended Abdul, which is really funny. Detroit Free Press actually endorsed Mallory McMorrow, but then they turned around and actually defended Abdul and against this AIPAC ad that came out. The AIPAC ad is claiming Al-Assad disrespected women, and it's literally just him like disagreeing with politicians. You know what I mean? It's just, that's it. That's it. Him running against women implies he's anti-women. Like, he disagrees with Gretchen Whitmer, called Gretchen Whitmer bought and sold by Big Pharma, which is true. right? And they're like, well, classic misogyny. Immediately, these guys go back to the fucking Bernie bros are misogynistic white bros. Bernie bros so white. Bernie bros so misogynistic. Welcome back, 2016. Welcome back, 2020. It's wonderful. It's the grossest, most cynical deployment of identity politics. It completely shows the hollow nature of IDPOL and how it's weaponized by reactionaries with regular frequency. It's the story that we have seen time and time again, especially in this community, right? It's one that we've seen be deployed against this community, against myself. Against Bernard. And they're trying to do it. This is not an apology. Why should he apologize? Because of what he said was sexist. Hey, do you think it was racist when McMorrow was asked about Hassan Piker and El Sayed and immediately brought up the Michigan synagogue attack apropos of nothing? Does this feel like a touch bigoted to you, Jeremy, since you're so concerned with subtext? No, because the fact that AES didn't immediately condemn the attack as anti-Semitic is reason enough to doubt that he has the Jews' best interests in mind. So Muslim Americans have collective guilt and Jewish Americans don't. Got it. I don't know what you're getting at here. Yes, you don't, because you're a fucking racist asshole, and that's precisely the reason why you're not seeing the racialized animus that you already have to see Abdul as morally culpable for an anti-Semitic hate crime attempt. You're doing that because he's Muslim. We don't do that with Judaism, by the way. We don't do that with Judaism. We don't just assume that Judaism is in any way, shape, or form related to Zionism and that like all Jews are morally culpable for the crimes of Israel, right? As a matter of fact, a lot of people get mad about that. Ironically enough, the Nazis get mad because they say, no, all Jews are responsible, okay? Or rather, they just hate the Jews and they find the Jews to be a perfect, reliable, consistent outside group that they can blame for all of society's problems, right? And now they're using the unpopularity of Israel to advance that agenda. But the Zionists also get mad. The Zionists also get mad. They turn around and they say, oh, wait, what do you mean? All Jews do care about is Israel, actually. And you can't even fucking complain about that. You can't even complain about us saying that. It's ridiculous. In any case, these people are silly. They're unserious. They're cynically deploying identity politics here. And it's because they have no arguments. They can't argue on the virtues. They can't argue on the positions. So they have to lean into broader frameworks, or rather, they have to lean into like the audience's reaction to certain statements, hopefully by negatively framing it enough that the audience will be more receptive to what they're saying. They can't tackle the message, so they attack the messenger. This is always the case. It's not any different than what I have withstood, as you guys know, as you guys have experienced, as you guys have seen. But I don't think people have appetite for this any longer. And that's precisely the reason why it has backfired. This content creator, Southpaw Politics on TikTok, has coined a term for it. A lot of people talk about the Hasanabi bump. But what about the Hasanabi hex? Let's take a look.
Hassan has talked up the Hassan bump, where candidates get a boost in the polls after they appear with him. But has anyone talked about the Hassan hex? Did Hassan Piker put a hex on Mallory McMorrow's campaign? Polls indicate she has collapsed into a distant third place ever since she fell victim to Hassan derangement syndrome. McMorrow piled onto a coordinated centrist purity test concocted by an organization who self-claims to hate purity tests, condemning Abdul El Sayed's participation in a rally with Hassan. She compared him to Nick Fuentes and relayed anti-Semitism concerns. Later on, when she was asked if she thinks Hassan is an anti-Semite, she said no. Okay, so then what the hell was that? At best, it was a puzzling miscalculation. At worst, it was a signal to donors and power brokers telling them what side she's going to be on if it comes down to left versus center. Wink, wink, I'll be on your side. McMorrow doubled down on this tomfoolery and questioned if Abdul was really a doctor. What? I don't think this is really the reason her campaign has flatlined. Two things can be true. Most voters in Michigan don't really know much about Hassan, but it also polarized young voters against her, and the 2018 HR politics didn't help with anyone else. More so, I think it's another failure of the triangulation project. McMorrow is running an in-between lanes strategy that has great appeal to the pundit class that has an over-obsession with the left-right spectrum. The strategists think it's a Goldilocks zone to bring the wings of the parties together, but really it turns into a no man's land, squeezed from both sides. We need to rein in data centers, but here I am giving one a tax break. Corporate money poisons our politics, but here I am taking all of their money. ICE is lawless and out of control. Here's why we should fund it. Healthcare is a human right, but not really. Israel's committing a genocide. Here's why we should keep giving them military aid. The left has had electoral problems because who they are appealing to, that coalition of people, has been too white and too educated to build a wide enough coalition. This progressive, pragmatic, technocratic project is even whiter and even more educated, thus smaller and not viable outside of the most.
Yeah, the Goldilocks zone comes across as insincere. It shows that you lack moral conviction to the average person, and it's a super simple issue to identify with because the overwhelming majority of the American population, whether they're in the primaries or whether they're in the general, see exactly what's going on in Gaza. They see it as a genocide. They see it as horrifying. They see it as something that should be put an end to. And beyond that, they also see what Israel has done in domestic politics, right? Yes, I got my hat back. Shout out to Ramke for sending it to me. Shout out to New York City DSA. They sent me a new one. But in any case, the point I'm trying to make is this. The average person, simply put, doesn't like Israel. Okay? They don't like what Israel is doing in Gaza. They don't like what Israel is doing in Lebanon. They don't like what Israel has done to goad America into going and waging war with Iran. They don't like that translates to higher gas prices for themselves. It's understandable that the average person doesn't like this. And then on top of that, they see people who defend Israel constantly chirp on their timelines, constantly demand cancellations, deplatforming. They see massive donors to the Trump campaign, massive billionaire mega donors go and purchase places like TikTok, CNN, CBS, all at the behest of both the MAGA movement and also this foreign country and its interests. They don't like that. They don't like that at all. So when someone is afraid to call that out, if someone is afraid to say the truth about what's going on, they see that as being insincere. And they're not wrong. Okay, this is a simple narrative. It's a simple to understand narrative, but it's also correct, right? It's a perfect situation. I hope you die. Why? Chatter? God damn. This son of a bitch of a dog. I hope they lock you up and electrocute you. This is the son of a bitch of a dog. I hope you die. I hope you die. Jesus Christ. Are you okay, man? Anyway, I hope you get health care. I hope you have I hope you find meaning in your life. You know what I mean? In any case, what I was saying is it's a simple narrative and it's one that the average person can understand, right? It's a simple narrative that the average person can understand. And it's fantastic for us because it's also true, okay? Oftentimes, simple to understand narratives actually are not correct or aren't like good litmus tests, right? In this circumstance, it is a good litmus test. It happens to be a good litmus test because if you are afraid to say the truth about what Israel is doing, both as it pertains to American foreign policy, but also what Israel is doing in shaping American domestic policy, and you're frustrated with that, and then you see the overwhelming majority of American politicians refuse to call it out, you find that to be insincere. And that insincerity is precisely what people despise about modern politics. Okay? It's funny that the modern Democratic Party was built around the idea we're not going to get caught cheerleading again for the next Vietnam. And then they went 0 for 2 in getting caught cheerleading again for the next Vietnams. Dude, I think if you keep spamming buy, borrow, die more times in the chat, we'll eventually read this JPMorgan.com article. Please stop. It's not, I've covered it extensively. Okay. Hassan, I promise this is not new information for us, chatter. I have covered buy, borrow, die. Take an hour off. We know. Honestly, somebody should clip this. It's like a perfect microcosm of what watching the stream is like. Hassan is in the middle of making a case for the human decency found at the center of good politics, and some random just frothing at the mouth to say horrible shit to him. I mean, this is how it is. This is always how it is. Okay. So, what I was trying to say is, this is a simple to understand narrative, but it also translates to being honest and being a real fighter on issues that people care about beyond Israel as well. Although it is one of the greatest moral crises of our generation, genocide is the crime of all crimes, it also extends to where certain politicians will be on other issues. Will they care more about corporate interests and corporate donations, or will they care about the needs of their constituents? That's it. That's it. If you can't say Israel committed a genocide, that Israel's an apartheid state and therefore deserves accountability, then you're not going to side with your constituents when it comes to healthcare. You're going to side with big corporations. You're going to side with big pharma. You're going to side with private healthcare providers. And people can understand that. That's why it's not only a simple to understand, easy to define message, but it's also one that translates to being earnest, being an earnest fighter for all of these other issues that people care about, not just Israel.
Favorable districts towards it. But I really hope McMorrow supporters can get behind Abdul El-Sayed, because Haley Stevens is everything wrong with the Democratic Party.
Yeah. That's where the Hasanabi bump comes from, or the Hasanabi hex, as he's coining.
One issue
So here it is. Abdul El-Sayed is back on CNN, back on another panel on CNN. And he's cooking again. And he's with Chuck Rocha, too.
I care about a lot on this show is AI and its effect on the economy to come. You have talked about public takeover, if I have that right, or privatization.
Was not the word, if you want to use that word.
What word do you want to use?
Is it AI under democracy? I mean, democracy is like,
who would run the
public
company,
takeover
the
of
government or the people who own the companies?
I think that if you have a technology that is going to vastly change the nature of the economy, it's really important that you have democratic oversight of that technology. So if we call that a takeover, then we've had a takeover of a lot of different things. But I think democracy is a good thing. And AI is a scary new technology, while democracy is a very tried and true old technology. And I'm just saying that you should have democracy overseeing the way AI is being deployed.
Would you turn down money from AI companies, and do you think other Democrats should?
I turn down money from all companies. I don't take corporate money.
Have you turned down money from an AI company?
I've turned down money from every company. I don't take corporate money.
Should Democrats turn down money from AI companies?
I think Democrats should turn down money from all companies, because you should not be bought by the people who have interests in making sure government works for them instead of working for everyday people. This is
That's all I got to say. Smoke them.
This is a simple thing.
King. Real king hours, dude.
One issue I care about a lot on this show is...
Yeah. How many times are they going to ask the same question? All his answers are very clear. It's because they're not getting the answer that they want. That's why. That's also the reason why they keep hitting him with the, oh, well, what about aligning with Hassan Piker? It's like, it's not only irrelevant, it's immaterial to this race. It's utterly irrelevant to the things that people care about, to the things that voters care about, right? But they'll still keep pressuring him on it. And the reason why they keep pressuring him on it is because they want him to back down. They want him to apologize. They want him to turn around and say, oh, I'm sorry. You are right. I shouldn't have actually corresponded with this dangerous radical, right? And in that circumstance, it's not even about like Abdul showing real change or anything like that. They're just trying to get him on something. They're just trying to get him to apologize for anything, so that then they can be like, see, you're contradicting yourself. Because if you notice, like, apologies don't really matter in the political sphere, right? No one cares about them. And the greatest example of this is my 2019 comments about America deserving 9/11, something that I, offered additional context to immediately after, like in the process of like delivering that statement. Right? When I say we totally did, we brought it upon ourselves. It's very clear that I'm talking about blowback. Not only that, but I also apologize for the language that I had used, because it caused people to misunderstand the position. Like, I wasn't saying it's good that 3,000 American citizens died in the process. That's not something I believe at all, right? And I did. I turned around and I said, like, yeah, look, I should have used better language when talking about it. It didn't really matter. It didn't matter at the time. Fox News still ran around and said, I'm a dangerous Al-Qaeda style Muslim terrorist. Okay. And for years and years, no one really cared about it or talked about it until it was brought back into the fucking fold by Andrew Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo thought it was a viable line of attack against Zohran Mamdani. It wasn't. It failed, but it didn't matter. A lot of these other center-right and centrist consultants then still kept deploying this line of attack over and over and over again in all of these other races, including the Abdul al-Sayed one. It has yet to work, but it doesn't matter. They still do it because their goal is to punish people who are outspoken, okay? Their goal is to punish people who are outspoken on these issues. Their goal is to discipline people like myself. Their goal is to turn people like myself into like this super toxic individual that no one should actually be around, that people should actually fear, and people should not listen to, right? And it's still not working because in the age of independent media, I have my own audience. I have my own platform, a platform that is outright competitive with these other major platforms, right? So I can offer context, I can offer clarity, I can offer my other positions and have reasonable people decide for themselves whether they agree with it or not, right? Anyway, let's take a look at this ZBS takeout.
Welcome back to the takeout. Obviously, Democrats want to win the House and the Senate in the midterms. And to do that, they need to project a unified front, or so the theory goes. But there are tensions between some Democrats and progressive Democrats. They're kind of clawing and fighting with each other. We saw a cluster of Democratic socialist victories last week in New York City. Is that a big thing, a New York thing, or a nationwide possible trend? Well, Michigan might give us some insight into that. It holds primaries on August 4th. State Senator Mallory McMorrow, Congresswoman Haley Stevens, and Dr. Abdul El-Sayed are vying for the Democratic nomination for the Senate seat, being vacated by incumbent Gary Peters. Earlier today, I spoke with El-Sayed, who is considered the most progressive candidate. Please take a listen. You are currently leading in the polls. The primary is August 4th. So let's do a thought experiment. You become the Democratic nominee for Senate. So let's go over some things that Mike Rogers, the likely Republican nominee, and Republicans who've already reserved $45 million in advertising are going to say about you. That you want to defund the police because you've tried to delete posts.
I'm sorry. This is so strange to me. Okay. I know it's not relevant with the issues that are being addressed or whatever, but like,
welcome back to the takeout.
Where
Obviously,
is it? Hold on.
Democrats
I gotta
want to
show
win.
you this. I gotta show you this. So he's not wearing a tie, and neither is Abdul. Okay. He's not wearing a tie, and neither is Abdul. But what I find particularly strange about it is if you look at the background here in the wide shot, you'll see it. Hold on. All he has are ties in the background. Why don't you guys wear ties? I think it would be cool if you took out a tie and gave it to your guest who's not wearing a tie, and then you put on a tie as well. Okay? Like, why is there a tie rack back there? You can't mention this every time. I'm not getting over it. I'm a suit guy now, okay? I'm a numbers guy, but I'm also a suit guy. And I find it strange that he has a coat rack back there for ties, and neither of them are wearing ties, okay? It's fucked up.
2020 saying you want to do just that, do you?
Let's talk about what I'm going to say about them, because that's the thing that Democrats tend to get wrong. We're so worried about what they're going to say about us that we forget that we also have mouths that work. So Mike Rogers is a guy who's never met a pharma lobbyist he didn't love. Like, he gets really mad when you call him a pharma lobbyist, but he spends so much time lobbying around with pharma lobbyists that you wonder whether or not he wanted to be one. And he hasn't explained how he made $14 million and moved to a McMansion in Florida. But during his time in Congress, because of the influence of the pharma lobby on him and the hundreds of thousands of dollars he took, this guy voted to raise prescription drug prices I don't know how many times, then helped to architect the legislation that turned into the opioid epidemic. I'm looking forward to forcing him to answer that question to Michiganders who lost family members, both because they could not afford their medication and because they died of opioid overdoses. I'm a doctor who rebuilt the health department, eliminated medical debt, and made sure that families had Narcan when they needed it. So I like my chances on that one. Then let's talk about his trouble with Donald Trump.
But if I'm a Michigander and I say, wait a minute, I hear you and I get you and I'm locked in on all those issues, but I do care what you think about funding police and what you said
what I'd say
years
is,
ago.
I was a Wayne County health director. And when the juvenile detention facility was in shambles, I declared a public health state of emergency to rebuild it. I raised everyone's salaries and wages immediately 35% so we could keep the folks who were leaving so that we could staff the facility. So if folks want to talk about what I said, I'm just going to point to what I did, right? When I had the opportunity to make sure that folks were safe in the facility, both the youth that were there and the people working there, by making sure that we could staff it appropriately, I did exactly that. So I'll let my record do the talking. And we're going to let Mike Rogers' record do his talking.
And they will probably say you hang around with Hassan Piker. Hassan Piker has said things that are virulently anti-American, they would say, and anti-Semitic. Do you have any regrets about Hassan Piker?
Well,
you know that's going to be an issue.
Major, I'm hanging out with you. I don't know everything you've said.
Right.
I'm sure you've said some things I disagree with. You've said some things I agree with. It tends to be in the real world, we hold people accountable for what they said, not what somebody around them said. And it's this funny gotcha game that Democrats love to play and Republicans love to play, which I think people are sick and tired of in politics. So if you want to play this game where you're going to hold me accountable, like, guilt by association based on something that somebody else said, I'm just going to make sure that people know what Mike Rogers has said, what Donald Trump has said, which he so desperately sought an endorsement from and can't seem to figure out how to shake because, Donald Trump's approval rating is in the gutter. Everything Donald Trump touches turns into trash. So I want to make sure that the broader public understands that about him.
Let's talk about something I experienced when I was in Dearborn, Michigan in 2024. I talked to voters there who were becoming
like this stuff doesn't work. Every question he asks about the interests of his employer, nothing to do with American interests. Socialists did not use dirty money to run for office. However, others did. I wish he would just answer the questions. He knows he's running for Michigan Senate, right? Gaza isn't Michigan. It's so strange to see an American politician talk the truth and actually look at the interests of human beings instead of corporations and terrorist lobby groups. It started with Mamdani, and that hope will continue. Why do they keep trying to make you an issue? Because he's Teflon. He's got nothing. Also, can you mention genocide again? Here's the thing. He's fairly squeaky clean. So they're trying to make an issue. They're trying to make an issue out of what they normally have had success with, right? Oh, you've hung out with this podcaster. And it's ironic because for months after the election, these outlets all brought up Democratic Party consultants and prominent Democrats onto their platforms where they all said, here's our big problem. We are constantly yelling about podcasters, and we should not do that any longer. It turns out, lo and behold, that was bullshit. Okay? That was bullshit. It turns out they were always going to go back to the old tricks. People are tired of it. People don't understand why this is supposed to be an issue. Okay? Especially in the post-Trump era where Donald Trump says horrible things over and over again. Who cares what some other fucking podcaster has said? Who cares what I've said? Now, there's also the other side of this story, which is that the things that I've said, or the things that I believe, the things that I advocate for, are defensible positions, which is precisely the reason why they can't actually talk about the message. So they have to talk over the message. They have to shoot the messenger. They have to say, oh, but don't you feel like this guy is actually reduced to our negatively framed choice quotes? Don't you think he's a bad person? Over and over again. That normally would work. That would potentially work if we lived in the old age of information. If we lived in an era where mainstream media were the only outlets that people could get their news from. If I didn't have my own platform, a competitive platform to mainstream outlets, then yes, that would work, because the only thing I'd be associated with, the only thing I'd be known by is how these people have perceived me, how these people have promoted me, how these people have reduced me to the most negatively framed sound bites that you could possibly find. But that's not the era that we're in. And I brought this up with Dave Weigel as well a couple days ago, if you remember, where I said, a lot of what mainstream media now ironically does is sound bites and gotcha moments. Whereas when these guys come on my broadcast, they actually have room to talk extensively about policy that connects with the voters, policy that connects with the constituents, right? That's what's so funny about this situation, is that it's upside down world now. It almost reminds me a little bit of the Jon Stewart era, where mainstream outlets would not actually hold politicians' feet to the fire and would not adequately criticize the Iraq War, right? So the only outlet where you could get reasonable critique of both parties, both the Democrats and their ineptitude and the Republicans and their warmongering, was a comedy show. And nowadays, if you want serious policy proposals from these candidates, you have to literally go to a fucking Twitch stream. That's perhaps the reason why RNC is consistently clipping my stream, my broadcast, and using it as an attack ad against these politicians. Another example of this was with Francesca Hong, who I'm going to be talking about in a second. In a rapid-fire round with Hassan Piker, Wisconsin governor candidate Francesca Hong says she supports abolishing ICE, state-run grocery stores, legalizing weed, freeing Palestine, and a Scott Walker statue for people to deface.
Fire. Super easy, super simple. Rapid fire. Do you support repealing Act 10?
Yes.
Universal child care?
Yes.
Free school meals?
Yes.
Guaranteed pay leave?
Yes.
Abolishing ICE?
Yes.
A 1-year data center moratorium?
Yes.
Breaking up big ag?
Yes.
Public grocery stores?
Yes.
Right to repair?
Yes.
Legalizing cannabis?
Yes.
Overturning Citizens United?
Yes.
A workers' bill of rights?
Yes.
A free Palestine?
Yes.
A Scott Walker statue that people can go to that are made by local artisans and craftsmen that people can slap up if they want to.
Tentatively, yes.
Okay, I tried to sneak that in there. I was like, oh, we got the momentum, like you're saying yes to everything. Maybe I could catch you.
Yeah. Some serious stuff, some jokes, right? And I said, this is what we're doing to Scott Walker for Act 10. Why Chinese people slap, spit on, insult statues of Song Dynasty Chancellor Qin Hui. Now, RNC stays publishing your W's. I mean, it's the same with Michael Penis, also known as Mike Johnson, showing the wonderful policies that the DSA wants to advance. When you are defined by your policies, when you are defined by your worldview, it makes it quite difficult for Republicans to turn around and bastardize your positions. Anytime they talk about your positions, all of a sudden there are going to be people, even in your, even on the Republican side, that will listen to what people are saying and go, wait a minute, that makes sense. I mean, this is happening right now with Stu Smith. Stu Smith does this all the time. DSA is already plotting his 2020.